Independent India is 75 and this is a special Independence Day edition on one take. Hello and welcome, I am Pallavi Ghosh. Over the last few days, you must have seen a lot of hangama, a lot of politics being played out over our national flag. There seems to be a race among political parties to prove who is more patriotic. But the swords are clearly drawn between the BJP on one side and the Congress on the other. This week we asked this question as India turns 75, is nationalism and the Indian national flag the new calling card, and will this lead up to the 2024 Lok Sabha elections? Well, the furor first started when there was an amendment which was made to a flag code which allowed national flags to be hurled or foisted from your buildings, from corporate buildings and so on and so forth, not just during the day but also through the night as well. The amendment also said that flags can now also be made of materials other than khadi, which is polyester. And there you had the Congress party making this a big issue. From accusing India's flag being coming Chinese to Ghar Tiranga campaign of the BJP as being just a facade, that BJP does not even know what Independence Day or nationalism is all about. They were called a sold out to the Chinese because that's what polyester flags were. And the reason behind this is also because many of the Khadi association and companies complain that the demand for Khadi would come down because Khadi flags cannot be produced en masse as, for example, a machine-made polyester flag can be. And the critics and the cynics said that this Ghar Tiranga campaign of the BJP was designed just to suit few people and also the corporate sector. Of course, there have been rebuttals coming in from the BJP and they raised a question mark over the nationalism of the Congress party as well. Now, there was fuel to the fire which was added when the DP or a display picture changed on social media, particularly Twitter. So that's when they used the flag. And then the criticism came in and the counter came in from the Congress party when they showed Jawaharlal Nehru holding the Indian national flag and thereby incurring a criticism that when it comes to a Congress party, it's all about the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty. The flag could have been on its own, or why not with Mahatma Gandhi. But that's not exactly what we are going to be focusing on, because this is something which we are seeing, which is ongoing and it's likely to peak. What we are going to see is in 2024, the race is going to be not just about the traditional vote banks, issues like Dalits, the downtrodden, or even the women. I think like the last Lok Sabha elections this time round, it's also going to be a lot about nationalism. Because that is the BJP's calculation where it scores and soars over other political parties, especially the Congress party, which still remains the only national alternative to the BJP, despite the fact that it's down and out. But the fact that it has its presence in most of the states, somewhat even diminished, makes it a national alternative to the BJP. Now, if you remember the last Lok Sabha elections, the airstrikes, the Pulwama, all of these factors completely swung the verdict in favor of the BJP, so much so when the Congress party did an analysis, there were many insiders who had to accept the fact that this is exactly what's worked in their favor. Many those who were hopeful of making it this time round, the moment the airstrikes took place, did actually tell us in private, now we know the electoral results, what they're going to be like, is going to be completely against us. The BJP at this point of time is now looking beyond. We also know that how Narendra Modi in 3.0 is actually going to look at reinventing himself. Greater accessibility, greater accessibility, and also someone who's going to be seen as a Vishwa Purush. Someone who's going to be accepted as a tall leader not just in India but also abroad. He also understands that this is only possible where India's flag, figuratively speaking actually, more than literally, foisted and stands tall above all other countries' flags. India's economy, India's politics, India's social fabric, all of them need to stand out and they need to overwhelm the global watchers. And if you notice, that's exactly what he's working at. When he talks about Atmanirbharta, is actually going back to the days of Swadeshi and the boycott movement of our freedom fighters who would actually use that as a symbol of resistance or rebellion against the British. And that's where the concept of Khadi and Swadeshi came in. And ironically, that's exactly what the critics of the Ghar Tiranga campaign are saying, that Khadi symbolizes and symbolized India's freedom struggle. And therefore, if you're going to allow polyester flags, you're compromising with this symbol. BJP, of course, is not accepting this. But just to go back to the earlier point, is the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign of the Prime Minister is actually in sync with this effort to also make India the tallest country in the world, to be one of those countries where it's going to become very difficult to ignore. But also when he's going to reinvent himself, he's also going to talk about greater acceptability. And that is where we spoke about in one of the earlier episodes about how the BJP is also trying to reach out to the minority segment to make the point that it's wrong to think of the BJP only as a saffron party. And this minority outreach can happen when you put about their empowerment. Better education, job opportunities, and the women empowerment in terms of the Triple Talaq bill for that matter. And we also spoke about the fact that how in some of the states' elections, particularly for example Uttar Pradesh, a large number of Muslim women actually came out and voted for the BJP because they were happy with the abolition of Triple Talaq and also getting job opportunities, also earning property rights, because this is added on to their entire empowerment. But now when we come back to the issue of nationalism, what the BJP is looking at is that particular spirit where they feel they certainly have an edge over the Congress. Every time the Congress starts comparing the BJP to the RSS, saying the RSS does not have the national flag as their DP, and how the RSS never took part in the freedom struggle, how Savarkar actually apologized, the BJP is very, very strong, and at times the effective counter is the fact is you have forgotten the freedom struggle. Today is the BJP who is actually keeping that flag flying. And even the worst critics of the Prime Minister accept the fact that at least on nationalism and a national spirit, one cannot doubt him. And therefore, when he talks about India standing tall, India ka jhanda lehrana chahiye, there is a deep political assessment and politics also behind it. And which is why I'm saying that in the 2024 elections, the 75th year is going to become an important factor. Indian government certainly has big plans in celebrating the 75 years of independence. Apart from stressing on schemes and women empowerment, social fabric being strengthened, and nationalism, I think that is going to be one big symbolism what this government is looking at. Is it likely to work? Yes, most likely if you go by the last Lok Sabha narrative. Will it put the other political parties on a back foot? Yes. Will it force them to also show their nationalism profile? Definitely yes. That's the reason why the Congress party is in pains to come out with audios, videos, animation movies, and also to try to project itself the only inheritor of the legacy of freedom struggle. And that's the question I'm winding up with. Is this what is really going to be the hallmark of the 2024 elections? Is that going to be the electoral calling card of every political party? Will that be the election slogan that we have to keep the flag flying? And whose flag is it anyway? Do give in your reactions on the social media timeline. Thank you so much for watching.